well, I think. Right now, I think. Well, welcome. This is the Board of Library Trustees, February 23rd, 2023 monthly meeting at the Dupont branch. Will you call the roll?
Certainly will. Mr. Eisbart?
Present.
Mr. Williams?
Present.
Mr. Seifert?
I'm here.
Ms. Tucker? Mr. Castleman?
Present.
Mr. Moss?
Present.
And Ms. Shamino. We are, what, 6-1?
The
6 here.
score is 6-1.
Yes.
Okay, good. Before we adopt the agenda, there's a Scrivener's error in that. Under approval of the minutes, item D should be included. Minutes of approval of claims, February 10th, 2023. And then item 10, instead of public comment, should be director's report, followed by public comment and adjourn, number 12. So with that as the changes, can we adopt the agenda, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. So let us move now, David, to your part.
Well, do you need the approval of the minutes?
I thought,
I thought you did the agenda.
you know, you're right. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, items A through D?
So moved.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Now, David.
Now, Dave, thank you, Ben. In your packet, of course, are your financial reports, and February is traditionally a pretty, uneventful report because all the lines are playing nice and they're staying within their areas. So really, we've been busy since the end of the year. We've gotten most of all of the information we need for the annual financial report, the certified one. We need one more item from the county auditor's office. That's the estimated the income tax that's on hand at the state at the end of the year, and hopefully, usually that comes in about a couple of weeks. And that's the last thing I'll need to do all of the annual financial reports. We did get all the required filings done in February. In fact, yesterday was the publication. I know you all saw it. It was exciting on there, but it was the cash and investment statement that all entities have to still publish in the paper. So the annual financial report that is part of, which is really the pre-audit financial report for the State Board of Accounts, has been completed and filed. The debt report, even though we don't have any debt outstanding, we still have to file a report on Gateway in the portal saying so. So that's all been completed, and we'll just be working, again, as I mentioned in the news and notes, the audit, I know Crow is planning on around April 18th, I believe, as the date to start the field audit, and with any luck, hopefully we'll get that completed fairly soon, I would hope. It's not 2022 wasn't an eventful year. There wasn't any outstanding debt. There wasn't any bonds issued. And so it should be a pretty straightforward audit and report. But I'd be glad to entertain any questions.
Any questions? If not, can I have a motion to approve the financial report as presented?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Let's move to approval of the claims.
Yep, these are the claims for today, and the largest item, $176,500, was for snow removal. Hard to imagine that on a 60-degree day, but this was for this past few weeks. And then Indiana and Michigan Power, the system-wide electrical service, was at $50,000. That was the next largest.
Any questions? A motion, please?
I move we approve the claims.
And a second?
Second.
Or any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. We're just moving along here.
And I'll bring this around for a second.
Now we have review. This is our annual event.
Yes, it is.
The review and approval of the 2022 Indiana State Library Annual Report. Susan, will you present that?
I will. I will take it away. So I was looking at my notes from this time last year, and it said that we were coming back from our COVID lull and that I anticipated that I would be back this time next year saying that we had continued to increase. Well, we have continued to increase, so that is the good news. I want to thank all of the staff, many of whom are in this room, for their help in compiling the statistics. And I also want to give a big thanks to Elena. This was her first year as the data entry, data wrangler person, and she did an amazing job because it's long and tedious work, but it's important work, and it provides us with a really meaningful look back at the previous year. So you have the report in its entirety, but you also have the Cliff Notes version, the one-page highlights. Let me mention some stats that I think are particularly interesting and meaningful. In 2021, we had 1.34 million visits, and in 2022, 1.45 million visitors. So that was an increase. Here's one that I am really, really excited about. We had what I consider a pretty significant increase in the amount of registered patrons, registered cardholders. So in 2021, that was 188,086. And for 2022, it went over the 200,000 mark. It's 201,284. Why I think that is, two things are top of mind to me. Going fine-free for kids, I think that helped a lot, and also our continued and increased, actually, outreach efforts. I think those are the two factors to see that number go over 200,000. I'm very excited about that. Our circulation did increase, the books that check out, from 3.6 million from last year to 4.1. Children's materials borrowed went up from 1.3 million to 1.5. Again, I think that is probably largely due to going fine-free for minors. Our print book collection did grow. It's still around 2.5, but as you can see in the stats, it went up a few thousand volumes. But a collection that really grew was our ebooks, and it went from 75,499 in 2021 to 121,720. And that is due to just the increased demand of ebooks, particularly with the wait list for popular ebooks items. Our typical rule of thumb is that we buy one copy for every 5 holds, and this last year we tried to be more intentional about making sure that holds ratio held the same for our electronic versions as well as our paper copies, and you're seeing that there. And overall, our collection expenditures as a percentage of the overall operating cost of the library was 15.6%, well in excess of the state standard of 8% and over the national average of 11%. And in a community that loves its books and materials as much as Allen County, I think that is a worthwhile use of our funds. Wireless internet sessions really exploded. It was 857,000 and change to just over 1 million last year. Reference transactions increased from around 73,000 to almost 77,000 this year. Website views increased from 1.4 to 1.5 million. But the real gangbusters number, and this is not a surprise, is in program attendance, because in 2021 we did not have as many in-person programs. 2022 we were back. So to compare, in 2021 we had 1,170 programs, and these are in-person programs, with an attendance of 21,300. In 2022, that jumped to 5,014 programs with an attendance of 94,864. So a dramatic increase. And those numbers are really important and meaningful, and also they don't always fully demonstrate the amount of work and effort and thought and care put into these programs and collections and services by our staff. So we want to thank our patrons for coming back to us in 2022, and we also want to thank our staff for the work they put in to make these services possible.
Thank you. Any questions of Susan on the annual report? Yes, Paul.
What was the operating expenditure per capita last year?
It's in here.
Yeah, I'm looking, but
Yeah, it's in section, looks like 5, if I'm not mistaken. The operating expenditure per capita was 82.96. The year before was 86.54. Even though expenditures went up, because we have the 2020 population census data, it went from 355,000 people to 385,000. So
So
we're
it's not
still
the-
we're still now in compliant. We don't have to adjust the rate that we've had to in the past.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's 05-048, correct, Dave? That's what you're
That's
looking
right.
at? That's the
Yeah,
line?
the line 05048 in there.
Any other question? Is there, and I'm sure there is, a way of showing the ratio of registered patrons to population, our community size? In other words, we have a little over 200,000 registered patrons in a community of 385,000, or give or take. How does that relate to Toledo or whatever?
That's a good question, Ben, and I don't have that at the ready, but that's something I can look into.
I think if you would, if it didn't take
Absolutely.
too much time.
And I think as we think about our strategic plan for next year, that would be a really great goal for us to have, to set a benchmark that a certain percentage of our community had library cards. And
Right.
I could check with peer libraries to see what that looks like in their communities.
Good.
That's a really good point.
Okay.
So do you have any idea how many out of that 200,000 are Allen County residents?
I believe I do. But I might need a minute to find it.
What's your guess? What's your guess percentage-wise?
Pardon me?
What's your guess percentage-wise?
Oh, I would-
96%?
I don't, I'm not a betting person, I just don't.
Excuse me.
I'm looking for that section.
It'd almost be nice if a lot were from outside, and you're drawing people
So
in.
we generate more revenue.
Yeah, drawing people in.
Oh my gosh,
Don't worry about it, you can,
oh, here we go, Paul. Here we go. So, total number of resident registered users, 201, okay, here we go. So the residents is 201,284. Non-residents, it's 353. So the vast majority are residents.
99.7%.
And then there are 23 that are non-resident cards issued to library employees. So those are library employees who do not live in Allen County. So the vast majority, residents.
And will there be a spot in there that reflects differently regarding the extension to educators and things too? Will that reflect differently?
For the purpose of the state report, it will just show up as non-residents.
Okay.
Now, we can pull out our own data, but
Okay.
for the state, they only care resident,
Right.
non-resident.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question about
Yes.
ebooks. I know they're quite expensive. Are you limited to how many you can purchase by the person that's providing it, the publisher?
Sometimes,
I
yes.
know, I heard that on NPR, and I thought, oh my gosh, that kind of puts a stress on.
It does.
Because young people want those, and all of us do at times.
Has there been any antitrust issues on that, limiting the ability to purchase?
There have been ongoing ones, yes.
Okay, any further questions on the Indiana State Library Annual Report for 2022? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
so moved.
Thank you, Paul. I have a second. Thank you, Jim. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. We are now up to item 7 on the agenda. Lorraine, are you presenting?
Yes.
So in your packets are several documents, and I'll explain what they are. We are recommending a policy addition to our employee handbook. We would like to make a recommendation for an addition of an evaluation period policy. You might know it as a probationary policy. This would provide the supervisor and new employee to assess the employment relationship within the employee's first 90 days at ACPL. So allows the employee time to ensure the position is a good fit for them, that what they interviewed for and what we told them the job was actually what it was, and that it's a good fit. And the supervisor can also have a more formalized review period for the employee, and if needed, the employee or employer can terminate that relationship during those 90 days. I sent the policy in the packet, but there would also be a procedure for managers to follow and a form to fill out that would go in the employee file upon completion or non-completion of the 90-day period. So the first ask is to approve an evaluation period policy, also known as a probationary period policy, for our employee handbook. If this is approved, it affects several other policies in our handbook, which I can go into as well. So the first policy that it would affect, if approved, is our sick leave. Right now, our policy for sick leave says new employees can't use sick leave until they're 90 days, so it's sort of already in there with a 90-day probationary period. So removing that language restricting them from using their sick leave so that they can use sick leave if they are sick within their first 90 days. Adding language that an employee who is terminated or doesn't pass that evaluation period would not be paid out for unused vacation. Typically, employees, when they leave, they are paid out for vacation, but we are asking to change just for the 90 days. If they're terminated, they would not get paid out for unused vacation leave. Removing the current language that restricts new staff from using personal leave within their first 90 days. So personal leave still has to be requested in advance and still approved by the manager. All of that would still be in place, but removing the restriction that they couldn't use it in those first 90 days. For performance reviews, just adding language that the employee will also be reviewed upon completion of their evaluation period, in addition to their annual review that's done every year. Adding language to the reassignment policy that the evaluation period does not apply to employees reassigned to positions unless that employee is still within their initial 90 days. So employees who are reassigned or promoted or moved roles in the organization don't have to start an evaluation period again.
On that one, what if unfortunately the employee does not fit the requirements by demonstrated performance? What happens?
If they're reassigned, you mean?
Yeah, resigned from position A to position B, did well in A, trying B, just isn't cutting it.
Yeah. There is language already in that reassignment policy that we could reassign them to a different position or move them around. We can move them back to their previous position. There's enough flexibility in there to do that, but they wouldn't be in a formal evaluation period.
I see. Okay.
And then the last policy that it would affect is adding language that employees in that evaluation period, in that 90 days, are not eligible for medical leave with ACPL. Medical leave is our internal policy. It sort of mirrors FMLA. If somebody doesn't qualify for FMLA or has exhausted it, they can qualify for our medical leave. And this would put that restriction that they couldn't use that in those first 90 days.
Okay. Questions?
I guess my question is, what prompted the change? What prompted you to start thinking about this and make this recommendation?
Yeah, I was actually surprised we didn't have it when I started. Every place that I've worked has had a probationary period. I think it's comfortable for both parties as the employee to say, you know what, this isn't a good fit, and I can leave without a black mark on my record or anything. But also the employer can say, you know, what you had told us in the interview isn't showing to be true, whether it's performance related or there's severe attendance issues that we've tried to fix, and we can terminate that relationship quicker. I think that's going to come especially in hand for our high turnover positions, those managers as well. So that's what prompted it, was just that it's a good sort of safety net for us and for the employee, and something that I was really familiar with when I came. And it's the #1 requested policy from managers thus far. I've had, since I started, several managers ask, why can't we have this probationary period? So,
Okay.
I'm not aware of many companies, you know, of any size that, I'm surprised that you didn't
yeah.
already have that. So how quickly do employees accrue like sick time?
So they start accruing right away, sick and vacation, but right now our sick leave policy states that they can't use sick leave until they've reached 90 days, but they can use vacation in their 90 days. So that seemed backwards to me, so I'd
Yeah.
like to just remove those restrictions.
Do you find that unusual that they start accruing right away, as opposed to at the end of the 90 days?
I've worked places where they have both, where maybe you accrue but you can't use it. I think it's okay that they accrue it. We still have some rules in place for vacation and personal that they have to request it so many hours in advance. I think it's 24 hours in advance. The manager can still say, no, I'm going to deny that request. So I think we still have some good barriers in place, but I think it's easier for our payroll to not have to monitor, okay, it's been 90 days, we have to manually add in their leave or their personal days. This would just remove those restrictions.
It'd be a pretty big change, so I'm not suggesting it, I'm just curious.
Any other,
I'm sure it's in place, but is there verbiage to the point of referrals of a person that didn't meet our requirements and they move on to somebody else? And somebody calls to find out about referral on, what's the?
Are you talking about if somebody didn't pass their evaluation period,
Yeah.
but maybe they're just not in the right
No,
position?
if they go on to another employer and that employer contacts ACPL relative to their abilities or performance or,
Right.
is there language in the policies right now?
Right now, all of those have to come through HR, and we just confirm dates of employment, position, those, we don't talk about performance at all in those,
Okay.
in those.
I thought that was there, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, and if somebody gets hired in this time and it's not the right fit, maybe their employment is terminated, but they still can apply for other positions that might be a better fit for them.
No problem.
that's an interesting, I didn't realize that. They don't work in position A, they could, if there's available an opening, apply for that. and
Yep.
they-
Well, right now, if somebody is hired in a position and they want to move positions, if they don't like the position, they have to be in that role for 6 months before they can apply for something else. But if they're in their probationary period and let's say it's not working out, we terminate them, we can still encourage them. If there's another role here, you can absolutely apply and potentially get interviewed for it. So it wouldn't leave with a black mark on their record, like corrective action might.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Well, if not, then I'll entertain a motion to adopt the new hire evaluation period policy proposal.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Okay.
Ben, we wondered if maybe there should be a second motion to approve the recommended language changes to the other policies. The sick vacation personnel.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to approve recommended language changes to sick vacation personal performance and performance review, reassignment and medical leave policies to reflect newly adopted evaluation period policy? If you
So
understood
moved.
what I said,
Second.
can we have a second?
Second.
If any of you have questions, you can try. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lorraine, you're up for the authorized staffing table?
Yes, this is just one follow-up title change request for the staffing table. So we had adjusted the previous role that was the accounting technician back in November to the payroll and accounting specialist, which better reflected those duties. But we had a lead accounting technician in the financial services department, and since we don't have an accounting technician position, there doesn't make sense to have a lead accounting technician. So we are just asking to request to change the title from lead accounting technician to lead accountant in financial services. No change in pay or grade, just a title change on the staffing table.
Okay, any questions on the change of title? If not, can I have a motion to approve the change of title recommendation?
It's so moved.
And a second. Kent?
Paul did it.
Paul?
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Opposed by nay. Okay.
Thank you, Lorraine.
New business is next, but is there any? Hearing and seeing no new business, let's go to the director's report, which is item 10 on our amended agenda.
Thank you, Ben. So we are at the Dupont Library. We have not been out to a branch in a long time, so we're thrilled to have you here. I want to thank Norm and our event staff for taking the show on the road. And I also want to introduce our Dupont branch manager, Erin Walzala. She is here with us this afternoon, and after the close of regular session, she is excited to take you on a tour of her branch. Black History Month is February, and we have been celebrating all month long with a full slate of special programs, story times, and displays. We kicked off the month with the program Cultural Intelligence, the essential ingredient for supporting Black employees, and it was presented at the main library by Dr. Crystal Walker, who is the Vice President of Employee Wellbeing at Sweetwater Sound. And Beth and her team did a lot of marketing with local businesses and employers, and we had a great crowd for that. And it is available on YouTube to watch on demand if you'd like. And another new collaboration for Black History Month this year is a sneakerhead art contest in collaboration with the Fort Wayne Mad Ants basketball team, where students in kindergarten through 12th grade are invited to submit their colorful dream shoe design. We have been selected as a community partner for the Fort Wayne Community Schools AMP Lab this spring. So 17 Fort Wayne Community School junior and seniors are considering how we might engage and support more Allen County teenagers through library resources, services, and programs. So they're like our think tank. And their creativity and unique perspectives are already generating lots of ideas, and we look forward to hearing their recommendations at the end of March. And I got to meet about half of them, right, Beth? Today they were taking a tour of the main library, and they were a very exciting, engaged bunch, and we cannot wait to hear all their recommendations for us. And speaking of engaging with youth, we're excited about this too. We had a class of 9 English language learners from Memorial Park Middle School come to the library last week to give a presentation to staff about homelessness in the youth population. More than 990 Fort Wayne Community School students are experiencing unstable housing or homelessness. And this class is developing a display to share the voices and the experiences of their peers. So the display will feature stories, illustrations, photos, and signs created by local teenagers, and will include an invitation to donate to local organizations that provide support for homeless youth in Fort Wayne. And this display will be in the Great Hall of the main library from the last week of March through mid-April. So we are really excited about hosting this important work and to spark a lot of thought and conversations. Speaking of conversations, Kim and I had conversations with local lawmakers in Indianapolis a few weeks ago at the Indiana Library Federation State House Day, including Representative Kyle Miller. The Indiana Library Federation is closely monitoring numerous bills that could have potential impact to libraries, particularly Senate Bill 12, which is concerning material harmful to minors in libraries. One bill that ILF is very enthusiastic about, as I am personally as well, is Senate Bill 340, which would establish the Dolly Parton Imagination Library statewide under the administration of the state library. Are you familiar with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library? This is the program that gives free books monthly to children 5 and under. Very excited that it has the potential to come to Indiana statewide. I also wanted to let you know that this week we issued a request for proposal for an integrated library system, and Pete and his team reviewed it before it was issued, and I do want to thank Kim Boland and her leadership for preparing the RFP. So the ILS is the automated system used for pretty much everything we do: circulation, cataloging, the public catalog, acquisitions, marketing, event management. Our current provider is OCLC Wise, and their contract ends in mid-November of 2023. So our timeline has us presenting a new contract to you for your approval at our April meeting, with a go-live date at the end of October. And typically in the fall, we ask for permission to close to do a staff training day. What we are thinking about for this year is that we close for an in-service day to prepare us to go live for our new system. We don't have an exact date for that yet. I would assume it would be someday in October, but we think that might be the better use of our traditional staff training day.
Have we given notice to the existing vendor?
We have, yes. We have. And I also wanted to, I'm ready for questions as well, but Beth, I wanted to have her talk briefly about some social work interns that we are hosting this semester.
Sure, I'm happy to share about this. The IU School of Social Work has reached out to us, and we've established a long-term relationship, hopefully long-term relationship, to host Masters of Social Work students who are looking for internships to complete their coursework. They are currently required to do a short-term internship of about 3 months, and in the future we may be able to host longer-term internships of about 9 months or a whole school year. Right now we have an intern placement at the main library as well as one at the Georgetown Library, and so far they have been spending their time evaluating the needs of our patrons as well as of our staff and providing support, training, and just expertise in general based on the needs that they are seeing. So they are developing programmatic interventions, support, ways that we can meet these needs both in the short term and in the long term. So they're considering things like homelessness, staff stress and burnout, support and debriefing after difficult incidents that sometimes happen at our libraries. And they're also offering connections and expertise about social services, de-escalation when things are happening around us, connections to the community that we might not have strong connections with in Fort Wayne, but that they, through their social service expertise, are familiar with. So over the last couple of weeks, we've convened both our interns as well as staff with social support backgrounds and social work degrees to talk about broad terms, what social work needs are there for our patrons and our staff. We're looking at moving forward with some recommendations from those meetings, details yet to come, but it's been very productive. We're very grateful to be hosting these interns and look forward to that partnership continuing into the future.
If I might, I think that's a very interesting and commendable program. Are they compensated by us during this, because there's an issue of interns working for free?
Yes, so we are offering the interns a stipend for their contributions to the library over the course of the semester.
I see.
So they're not employees, but we're offering them a stipend the same way we would others who come in and offer their support to the library.
Good, thanks.
Happy to answer any questions about any of this.
Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, public comment? Excuse me, the public is behind my back. Anybody who wants to talk? How about anybody live and in color on our wireless? Nothing. Nobody? Okay, well then, seeing and hearing no public comments, live or in person, or not in person, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by aye, opposed by nay, and thank you, Dupont. Now, we have an executive session, but the tour will take place in between.
That's what we would like to do, if it's okay with you.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, so those that go on the tour, remember to come back